Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. It's Thursday, February the 16th, 2017. Anyway, over the past couple of days, or I guess this week, I've been working on price analyzers. Actually, for the past couple of weeks. But this week, I finally figured out how to do the real-time price analyzer. Now, it has a different purpose than the price travel analyzer. The price travel analyzer is for figuring out or coming up with methods based on how far price travels from one point to another and then back again. So, for example, you might analyze from the open. If it's below the pivot, how many times does it go above the pivot? And then how many times does it close above the pivot versus closing below the pivot? That's what we do when, on a Sunday or Saturday when the market's not open. You want to do those type of analyzations. Or you could do it when the market's open. It doesn't really matter, but the real-time analyzer, on the other hand, that's what you do when you have a trade on. Or especially when you have a trade on or you're looking for a trade. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So right here we're looking at the yen. I'm using the daily time frame because I want to see what's happened. Now this is the real-time price analyzer. We're going to look at 100 bars of data. And I have a place where you can put a note to yourself here. So if you have different screens, you could say, you tell which one, what you're trying to do. So I've got it defaulting to pivots. But just like the price travel analyzer, you've got a vast number of inputs to select from. So you've got, your prices, your top, your bottom, the midpoint. You've got previous, and you've got all your pivots. Then you can put in fixed prices. You can have the current price, fibs, and previous fibs for if you want to do some retrace analysis in real time, once again. So, like I said, I've got it defaulting to the pivots. Now, what it does is, as you can see, it doesn't have all of those different price levels out here. I put some quote-unquote intelligence into the indicator. So what it does is it looks at everything you've selected and then sorts them. And then it has, the highest on top and the lowest on bottom, just like price. And then it just says, okay, am I higher than this? Am I higher than this? Am I higher than this? It keeps going down. It goes, oh, I'm higher than S2. So the bid is above S2 and the ask is below S1, S2. But here on the chart, I call it MS2. It's the midpoint between S1 and S2. So that's what it does. Then based on that, it says, okay, if it's below S1, S2, how many times over the last 100 days was the high greater than that? You can see 100% of the time. And right now, the close is not greater than S2, and that's why this is gray. But the close was greater than S1, S2 86 times, or out of 86%. Okay, it was less than S1, S2, which it is right now, 14 times or 14% of the time. Okay, close was greater than S2 right here, 94% of the time. Less than S2, it price closed 6 times. The close was greater than S2, S3, which is right here, 97 times. Close was less than only 3 times, and the low was less than S2 here, only 15% of the time. Okay, and you can see here it was low. The low did go below S2. Okay. So this is what happens in real time. So it's telling you. So if you were to enter this trade, you're thinking, okay, which way should I trade? Well, close is only gone down there 6 times, and it's gone above 94 times. Which way would you trade? I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult to see. And of course, probably it'll just keep going down, and you guys will all get to laugh at me, right? But as we all know, anything can happen. So how do you make money off of this? Well, right here, you see it's getting near that S2 level. Okay. So what I would do is I'd look for price to stall and then enter. Enter long. I'll be looking for the bounce. You can see it's in the rat zone. It's 14, 15 pips above the low. You know it's going to probably come out at least 20 or higher based on the price travel analyzer, which we have here. And I've, since my last video, of course, I've made some improvements to this one also. And this one right here is set up for the wick zone. So if it opened above the wick zone and went inside, that's what we're saying. So let's see here. This opened above the lower wick zone and went inside. Okay. So the open was greater than the previous bottom 81% of the time, and the low was less than the bottom 44% of the time. Now you notice these numbers in blue. This is the filter. So from here on down, we're using 44 bars to compare everything. So was the close less than the previous bottom? 43% of the time, 19 over 44. Close less than the previous low, 12 or 27% of the time. So you can see here, we've got a bottom wick. Price shot through that bottom wick zone. Okay. So this is what happens when you have a price opening above the lower wick zone, going into the lower wick zone. How many times did it close above or below that wick zone? So here, low went through it 30 times, or 68% of the time. So you know, okay, if it's in there, we get there, you take that short. That's how you make the money. Now it says close greater than the bottom 25 times, close greater than the previous low 32 times. Okay, but you can see here it doesn't look like we're going to have a below the close above the previous low, but we still have 3 hours and anything's possible. So this is how you use the price travel analyzer. But once again, we're also looking at the real-time price analyzer here. So if I remember correctly, I said you look for it to stall here, and I think the price was around 25 at the time. So you can see you'd probably be up a few pips right there. So that's it. I'll just go through the inputs. Now I haven't released this yet because I'm still working on it. There still might be a few bugs in there that I want to hopefully get most of the bugs out before I release it. And then right after I release it, it almost never fails, I find a bug and I have to send out an update. So you can see here when I started out, I think I only started out with price level to E, but then I realized we have all these different pivot points, so I might as well give enough levels so we're already up to M that you can put in there. And remember, you can change these to whatever you want. Fixed price, if you want, if you want to do a test on a fixed price, you can. And also, just like in the other analyzer, you can say R3 and a price. You can either say R3 plus 10 pips or R3 minus 10 pips. Just like that. So that's how that works. And if you have any ideas or suggestions, I'm always open. I don't always do everything, but I'm open to listen. So, and I probably implement more suggestions than I reject. Now, there's some people might ask me to make a new indicator or change an indicator to do something it wasn't intended to do in the first place. Those usually get rejected. But like if somebody says, hey, can you put alerts on this indicator? Well, even if I didn't write the original code, I'll take a look at it. If it's not too hard, I can usually do that in about, 5 or 10 minutes because I already have that code written. I just have to pop it in. And other than that, a little bit on trading psychology. I like to try and wrap something in, or work something into these videos about the psychology. It's just really being focused. Trade one pair until you're successful. You don't have to jump around to a lot of pairs. That's how I got to be successful in the stock market, was by trading the same stock every day, all day long. And so in the foreign exchange, even though there's, some platforms have 20 some pairs, some might have 30 some, but, I pretty much put my focus on the dollar yen, the dollar Canadian, and the euro yen. And actually, dollar Canadian is probably the one I trade the most, just because of the buying power. I can buy twice as many dollar Canadian as I can dollar yen. But it just depends on, where the price action is. And for those of you wondering, it's like, well, which of the methods do I use? Well, it's a combination. I use, I like to be in the rat zone when I enter a trade. If I'm in the wick zone, that's good. If there's a semaphore, I'm on the right side of it, that's even better. With the holo, highest open, lowest open on the H1 candle, it just makes it all good. If in the dashboard, I have all those different columns, and so that's what I use. So it's kind of a hybrid. It's basically a holo that's in the rat zone that could be in the wick zone with the semaphore on my side. And actually, I'm thinking about possibly putting something together on all that. And one other thing, just to let you know, now that Verizon's doing unlimited data, I am opening up the 2% club on Pal Talk. So look for me there. And as always, fellow traders, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. This is the Rumpled One, going back to draining the banks.